So over the weekend, I had some time to uh, add some Orchard Core AI agent to our AI suite. Um, the idea here is to be able to use natural language to perform tasks. You'll see there's a lot of file changes because there has been a lot of file changed. I haven't merged this yet. I'm waiting on the feedback here, and based on that, we'll probably need to add some more things, and based on that, we'll merge it and release it. But what is Orchard Core AI Agent? It's a way, so we've seen this chat where you can do this about, ask it whatever you want and it will respond. But how can we make it do work for us, do some tasks? But what I did here, there's a site admin chat profile, but I'm going to go and edit this, which is site admin chat profile. So now I put all the functionality inside it, capabilities tab. So if you click on it, you'll see there's a lot of things. Well, we've seen this last week, the MCP connection. So you can select one or more MCP connections. But now you'll see there's a lot of tasks that you can also allow it to do. So for example, you can enable these communication that allow you to send email, message, and user notification. These are available here because I have enabled the emails, I have enabled the SMS, I have enabled the notification. Otherwise, it wouldn't show up. So if you don't have the emails feature enabled, this wouldn't show up, for example. So I'm just going to tell it, hey, you can do all these things for me. And then content definition, I want to also give it access to that. I want to give it access to be able to manage content for me. So you see, we can clone content, create, delete, publish, retrieve, existing, publish, unpublished, search for one. Also, I want to give it functionality to manage features. I also want to give it tools so you can import recipes and stuff. We're going to get information about role, information about time zone, and then also search users. Again, these are, you don't have to enable all of them. I'm just enabling everything so you can kind of see it, how it all work. So now this site admin profile has capabilities to do work for us. Now, if we go in here, we can do things like, can you send an email to Mahayek and say hi? And so now what it's going to do, it's going to actually, oh, there you go. Look, it sent me an email already. And it generated the message. And if we need the proof, I can pull up the proof that it's sent. And here it is, it's sent. So if we open this up, 1 second, and you'll see it generated the email right here. It wrote it to a local file. You can do things like, is there any user with the last name Hayek? And then, well, it hit a breakpoint. So hang on, let me just let it go. And then it's going to do a search within the system real time, and it's going to figure out if there is user or not. And as you can see, it comes back with one user. You can do other things beside just users. You can do things, can you enable the dashboard feature? Whoops, I misspelled it. Oh, look at that. The dashboard has been enabled. So if we go here, sure enough, it enabled it. Let's go back. Can you disable it? It has been disabled. Let's go here just to verify. Well, there's a problem, but it disabled it. There's an exception. Interesting. But yeah, so it disabled it. Wow, my entire application crashed because we disabled the dashboard. So anyway, that's bad, but we'll figure out why. It's not from the AI. It's probably something dependencies enabled to resolve IAD theme while attempting to. So I'm going to copy that and save it so I can look into it after this call. So anyway, so we have a lot of functionality here. I'm going to switch to another tenant because this site just broke. Can't do anything with it. This tenant, this is a default tenant. If I go to the profiles here, I also create a site admin chat tenant. In this one, you will notice here tenant management. So as you can see, you can create a tenant, disable, set up a tenant, remove a tenant, list tenant, so on and so forth. But this is only available if you are running this feature on the multi-tenants or the default app. So these are tenants that I already have. I can go back here and I can say, can you create tenant with the name log 4 or 5? I think 4 is not available. Let's see what happens. And hit a breakpoint again. I'm running this in a debug mode. The tenant's name has been successfully created. Can you show me its current stats? It's uninitialized. Okay. Can you set it up? Set it up. Let's see. Hit a breakpoint. Jeez. Continue. Okay. I apologize. Okay, so you need a password. Okay. So use password 123. Apologize. I don't know what that means. Information, try again. So something is wrong with this stuff. It worked before. But anyway, so you have the power here to do anything you want. Another thing you can do, can you create an article? No, I don't even know if we have articles here. Hang on 1 second. Okay.
Ask it to create the article type if it's not there. Done.
It can, but there's limitation. That's what I was gonna come into. Can you create an employee or article content type? And it will, with limitation. We'll talk about that next, but let's see. It's taking too long. I don't like it. So you're able to create content types. You're able to manage, so you can find content types. You can also create. You can create contents from here. You can publish, unpublish, clone, revoke. I'm not sure. There's something wrong here. It's not working. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. You can also run recipes. So we have recipes here. We can ask it to run, anything in here. We can, let me, I don't know, start it all over. But you can do just about anything from here. Okay. The problem with creating content types is our documentation is not great. And so it doesn't really, many times doesn't generate good definitions. And when I looked and there's a PR to improve this page because this is important here. So it's able to create content type without a problem. Where it fails is in creating a content part. So recipe, there's a recipe in here. Content types. Yeah, maybe I'm on the wrong page. Yeah, right here.
Even aware of the documentation.
Yes, it is. That's how it gets all this information from.
But so what model did you use and how did you train it?
I don't train it. You can use the public model. You use our public information.
So you use the public model. Okay, use
Yeah, so like for example, right here, the content definition, we do not have an example of how to create content part, right? We don't have that. So it kind of generates that, it makes things up, which is not good.
Because the function that you use to create content types is using the JSON representation. Like how
No,
what function did you provide to the MCP to create the content type?
it just, well, it imported a recipe. Okay. So if you
it's
give it a
using
recipe, it
recipes.
will import.
Okay.
Correct. So the chat model is supposed to create a correct recipes in order for it to be able to process them. And the way it does that is by stabilizing or understanding our documents, our documentation, effective documentation, and that's how it builds its knowledge, right?
And
so when we don't have a great,
the constraint with it is that you have to trust that the model has the knowledge, had the correct knowledge in the correct time, like when was the model updated, and maybe we can just fix it by providing custom prompts for these kind of things. Like each module could provide a prompt explaining all the features and what to do with that. So for instance, in the content module, you see, because we know that first, the doc might not be complete enough to provide the answers. And second, maybe the model is not up to date enough to know the answers that we need. So even if we fix the doc, how long will we have to wait until we have a public model that knows about it? And then, the feedback loop will be super slow. So maybe we need to provide prompts for that.
Very good point. But still, we should have better documentation, right?
Yeah, if
so
the AI
example, this is
know,
bad JSON, for example.
If the AI doesn't know how to create a content type from our doc, then probably nobody knows.
Well, that's true. I mean, look at this. This is even wrong. It's bad JSON right here, right? Like there's an example that we could fix, right? And then this, we should also add content parts. We could also focus on the content fields. We look at the content fields here, which is very important, right? We don't have like good examples of how to create one from recipe or how to use one through a recipe, right? So we don't have great examples on these things, especially when it comes to recipes. So those things will kind of improve the output of a public model. And the reason why I did a public model and we don't want to train or because that's the quickest way that anyone would use it, right? And so if we're able to improve these things, then the output or outcome will be much better. And it's not just this, right? If you go chatgpt.com, it's using this information. So if someone is using ChatGPT to ask questions about Orchard, they're going to have bad answers because the documentation is not 100% complete. So those are the things. What is it?
But it was quite good though last time I tried. But the difference is that the documentation is for end users to do actions from the UI, and here your model is not doing actions from the UI. It needs to have low-level information about how to do things, like run a recipe. Yes, it's related, but today the doc might be sufficient for ChatGPT to tell someone to do something. For it to do it by itself, it doesn't have the interface to do it. The MCP doesn't let you click on the admin menu and then, you see what I mean? You understand. That's why the prompts might be better. I
completely understand. Yeah, I get it. I understand. But I'm just saying we can easily improve these things by just adding proper recipes.
More technical.
Yeah, it's okay. Maybe what we need to do is just add samples, right?
Yes, like full samples of technical stuff that don't make sense for users. Like, it's too complicated to read, but for an AI, yes, it would be better to have a list of full-blown samples of things, like a big recipe, and it will understand what it means. And
well, I mean, if you give it good info, like in here, if you explain a little bit more about the fields, like how to attach a field to a part, for example, using a recipe, then it's good about trying to puzzle those information together. Like I did here, you can argue with it and it would kind of fix, I don't even know, I don't think he ever finished this, right? I'm
Yeah,
wondering if
breakpoint.
there was an exception. There might have been an exception or something, but it's able to do that. Like I've created content types many times using this because I was testing it. But the problem, it kept on failing when I asked it to say, can you create like an employee content type with a reusable person part that has two fields? It made up a recipe for the fields or the parts because it
Yeah,
just doesn't have enough
yeah,
input.
for this kind of usage, I'm sure we can come up with some prompts explaining how to build a recipe, what is a part, what is a field. For each field, what does the field do? What are the properties? Almost between technical documentation and AI documentation prompt. And this way it will be able to create anything. Because it knows what an article is, we tell it what fields are available, it will be able to make up a good recipe automatically without even telling what fields or whatever. I'm sure.
Yeah,
Prompt engineering.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that here I'm not using MCP for this, using standard functions because it's a real, it's within the app. So the only time we would really need an MCP server if you want to have a different tool to prompt to connect to your app remotely and say, let's say, I don't know, let's say Limbic have million sites going on .nest, and then they want to have a client where they can just communicate to all their instances, right? They would authenticate into one of those instances and perform using the MCP server. But in this case, you really don't. It's no more than functionalities.
AI's functions.
Yep. Yeah. So use AI functions.
Which is fine. Yeah.
Yeah. I never tried prompt templates in AI functions. I'm not sure if they're capable. I think they are. I just don't know.
Yeah. I mean, next step, next week. Okay, cool. Next week, you come up with a good prompt text for the content type module, a prompt for the content fields module, and you just feed it automatically to the chat. And before you say, this is my context, my prompt context, my default prompt. It will load it every time when Orchard starts, and then it will know about the things you want it to know. And it can evolve, and it will be much faster than update the documentation, which might still be necessary. But this way, you don't have to wait 6 months before you get the result of your documentation updates.
Yeah, I agree, but you do still agree that we should be
yeah. If the AI doesn't know, then we need to improve it. But
yeah,
for your demos and your work, you need to give it a prompt to be much better.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, in summary, this is all the stuff that you can do. You can remove, update content part and definition and remove them. You can get them. You can clone content item, update, all the basically content item management. You can do it. I've tested it. It works great.
100% sure, and we talked about it last week between each other, that in a week of work, you can get a prompt that in the chat you say, create a tenant that will be a blog about my bakery, and create a template and the images for that. And if the prompts are correct and the features are correct, then it will create everything. And we'll have the pages, correct, the content types, the content, the images, everything.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can go bonanza with this. I mean, you can do whatever it is that you want. I mean, as you can see, within short period of time, I've added all these functionality.
Translate the site in blah, 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 and add a widget for the culture selector at the top. So if every module, every feature can have a small prompt explaining what it does, how to do things, then AI will be able to grasp everything that is possible to do and convert any request you ask to these things. Right.
Cool.
Thank you.
If anybody's interested in this, they can check out this PR and they can give it a test. Once I have it merged, we'll be able to use a package in here, and then you can just use it in your own package and test it out.
One small thing, I think it would be useful to have a workflow tool as well, because that's not necessarily convenient for everything, but that's ultimately allows you to do anything in Orchard Core. So from the prompts, you can start a workflow, and with that you can, well, create content items, content types, enable, disable features, you know.
I mean, I can add a function that will create workflows as well.
I don't mean you create workflows, but rather execute workflows. So you have an existing workflow, and
Yeah.
just as the tools you listed.
Easier.
Yeah, that's much easier. That's like 10 seconds. It really that easy. I mean, with all the setup that we have, it's really.
You can even tell it create a workflow that will start another workflow every 10 days, for instance.
Yep. Yeah.
So you can
Yeah,
ask it to
it can
start the
create
workflow
anything.
for you later. Like oh, like you can say create a workflow that will clean my audit trail every 30 days. And boom. Everything.
And one of the cool things also is that you can use any model. So if you're not happy with the model you're using, you can just utilize a smarter model. Obviously, the newer models are trained better or more. So if you use a better model, then
yeah, for now it's
or
not the
using-
limitation. Yeah, that
exactly.
shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Once we are more documented, then we can see what the models can figure out by themselves with what we tell it.
Yeah.
And how much thoughts they can put in it and come up with solutions based on the possibilities we've taught it. That will be interesting. And then Antoine, next step is to update the tryorchard.net to make.orchard.net with one prompt. And then you get an email with the new website, but it's already complete. You ask for a website and it gives it to you. It starts with images, content, everything, and then you get the URL for it, just as a teaser. And then after that, Lombi creates another company, another service that does that for a fee.
I actually tried to create a proof of concept, or rather, tried out the latest models and Cursor and GitHub Copilot with agent mode. I wanted to check whether it can create themes and even simple changes like I have an existing theme and I just wanted to change some color scheme, logo and whatnot. And I didn't really have much success.
But it will be able to do that, like for sure. Like you pick up any theme from any theme market, and you will tell it, hey, if you have the correct prompts and the correct doc for Orchard, then it will be able to make it for you, like 100% for sure.
I hope so.
I've done things in my code. With these models, I'm like, how is that even possible? Like crazy thing. I don't understand how it knows, how it can guess what I wanted, or like crazy. It's crazy. And
Yeah,
even
I've been impressed many times
with
with
Orchard,
models.
like just in ChatGPT, you ask it, create me a content type article and give you a template. It will give you the fucking file name of the liquid file with the shape name correct for the type and the code inside. And I'm like, what? How? Yep. Okay, cool. So yeah, it will get there for sure. Nice.